Part 3. Testimony of Officer Ray Shockey, 1972. On a March night in 1972, darkness descended on Riverside Drive with the suspicious stillness. The narrow road running along the Ohio River was so silent that the hum of Officer Ray Shockey's patrol car seemed to echo from another world. He was used to quiet nights like this. Usually, the shift involved a few drunks, a minor accident, or a call about some noise. But tonight, the air felt strangely heavy. Mist rose thick from the river, swirling into hazy strips that clung to the ground. Shockey adjusted the rearview mirror, turned on the radio, but the static did little to reassure him. A sense of unease crept into his mind, as if someone was watching him from the other side of the white fog. He straightened his posture, tapped a rhythm on the steering wheel, and told himself, just a regular shift. Everything's fine. But at that very moment, his headlights swept across a bizarre figure. A strange creature darted out from the roadside. Damn it! Shockey slammed on the brakes, the tires screeching, leaving a smoky trail across the damp asphalt. His heart nearly stopped. In the glaring beam, the creature revealed itself, standing upright on two legs, barely over 1 meter tall, its small frame radiating menace. Its entire body glistened, amphibian skin shining under the headlights as though it had just emerged from the freezing river depths. Its eyes, what froze Shockey, blazed with an intense red glow, like burning coals. They did not blink, did not waver, but locked firmly onto his. For those few seconds, Shockey felt as though his mind was being invaded. That stare was not the gaze of an animal, but something conscious, probing, judging. "Oh Lord," Shockey whispered, his trembling hand reaching for the holster at his hip. But before he could react, the creature twisted away with an almost ghostly speed. It darted down the slope toward the riverbank, its footsteps slapping wetly before vanishing into the heavy splash of water. The fog closed in again, as if nothing had ever been there. Shockey sat frozen in his car, chest pounding like it would burst. He gasped, lungs struggling for air. What the hell did I just see? An animal? A prankster in disguise? Or something else? The question circled in his head, tightening the chill in his spine. Minutes passed before he gathered enough composure to drive back to the station. The tires rolled slowly over the empty road, but in his mind, the burning red eyes seared into him like scars of molten iron. When he arrived, Shockey stepped inside, his face drained of color. A young officer looked up, chuckled. "Ray, you look like you've seen a ghost. What happened?" Shockey pulled off his hat, slammed it on the desk, and dropped into a chair. It took him a while before he could speak, his voice hoarse. "I just saw it, right in front of the car. A freakish thing, not human, not any animal I've ever known." The room fell silent. Curious eyes turned toward him. One colleague frowned. "What are you saying? You sure? Maybe just a coyote or something." Shockey shook his head. "No, it stood upright like a man. Its skin slick, wet like a frog's. And its eyes, God, its eyes glowed red like fire." No one spoke. Everyone knew Shockey was not the type to hallucinate or exaggerate. He was a veteran officer, calm, meticulous in his reports. If he said he saw it, then something terrifying must have been there. One officer forced a laugh. "You're probably just overtired, Ray. Nothing in this town but drunks and petty thieves. Monsters? Come on." Shockey stayed silent. He knew they would mock him, but the truth was etched in his memory like a scar. That creature existed. It had stood right before his eyes. Days later, the story leaked out. The local newspaper quickly ran it. Loveland police officer claims to see strange creature. The townsfolk buzzed with gossip, divided between believers and skeptics. For many, it was just an exaggerated tale. But this time, the witness was not some ordinary civilian. He was a trained, trusted officer. Shockey soon found himself in a bind. Some colleagues teased him, calling him the frog sighter. Others gave him wary, uneasy looks, half believing his tale. His wife, after hearing the account, clung to him, afraid that the creature would come to their house. Shockey reassured her, but even he could no longer sleep peacefully. Every night, when he lay down, he saw the amphibious figure in the mist, red eyes boring into him. Sometimes he woke in terror, certain he'd heard water splashing outside his window. One night, stepping onto the porch, he froze at the sight of wet streaks across the cement, leading from the lawn right up to the steps. There were no clear footprints, just damp patches, as though something had just climbed from the river. Shockey began keeping notes like a case file. Times, locations, weather, strange sounds. Reluctantly, he realized the truth. Whatever it was, the creature had not vanished after that night. It lingered along Riverside Drive. It even knew where he lived. And Shockey believed with growing certainty. It knew exactly who he was. From that night on, his life never returned to normal. He still patrolled, but every drive down Riverside Drive made him grip the wheel tight, eyes scanning both shoulders of the road. The once familiar stretch now felt cursed, a hiding place for something not of this world. A week later, the Loveland Herald ran an interview with him. The journalist, Martha Dugan, brought a recorder straight to the station. Shockey was reluctant, but with public pressure mounting, he agreed. "Can you describe it more clearly? Its exact appearance?" Martha asked, eyes fixed on her notepad. Shockey took a deep breath, voice firm. About 4 feet tall, standing upright. Skin slick, amphibian, no hair. Eyes glowing red. "I've never seen anything like it in my life." Martha frowned, trying to remain neutral. But in her mind, this was both absurd and irresistible, perfect for readers. The article ran that weekend. Loveland police officer encounters strange creature, monster or shadow. Overnight, the small town buzzed. In cafes, in grocery stores, people whispered about the Frogman, the nickname the locals gave it. Some scoffed. "Ray just saw a wet dog." But others shivered, recalling odd happenings by the river. Strange croaks at night, black shapes leaping into the water, the stench of fish lingering on the banks. Shockey wished the matter would end, but it didn't. A month later, fellow officer Mark Matthews reported seeing a similar creature on the same stretch of road. At first Matthews thought it was a prank, but when he saw the small figure dart across, he froze. He drew his gun, fired a warning shot, and the creature disappeared into the night. The story spread. The police department came under pressure. Shockey's superiors summoned him. "Ray, are you certain about your statement? We're becoming the laughingstock of Ohio. We need solid proof, otherwise." Shockey looked him in the eye. "I swear on my honor. I saw it, right in front of the car. I am not making this up." The commander sighed. He knew Shockey was honest, but the claims put the department in an impossible position, neither provable nor dismissible. Meanwhile, the rumors grew. Teenagers flocked to Riverside Drive at night, hoping to glimpse the Frogman. Some brought beer, treating it as a thrill. Others brought shotguns, determined to capture the beast. Police had to intervene repeatedly to prevent accidents. Shockey, meanwhile, began feeling watched. He told his wife that on several drives, he saw glowing red eyes flash from the roadside. But when he stopped the car, there was nothing, just insects chirping and the river's damp smell. Another time, by the bridge, he found strange tracks, muddy imprints resembling human feet, but webbed like a frog's. They smudged across the concrete, as if the creature had climbed up before leaping back into the water. He shone his flashlight nervously, but just then, a heavy splash echoed from the river, sending ripples out. His heart pounded, hand gripping his gun, but he knew chasing it was hopeless. It moved too quickly in the water. All he had was the bitter certainty. It was still there, lurking, watching. The obsession grew. Night after night, nightmares came. He dreamed of the creature crawling up from the river, tapping on his window, its glowing red eyes fixed on him and his wife. In the dream, he tried to lift his gun, but his arms were leaden, useless. Each time he awoke drenched in sweat, heart hammering. Fear turned into anger. One morning, Shockey told Matthews, "We can't let it just lurk out there. It must have a lair. If it's in the river, there's got to be a den." Matthews nodded, determined. They began staking out the riverbank off-duty. Flashlights, pistols, searching for signs, mud trails, dripping water, strange croaks. But every time they closed in, the creature vanished. One night, under a dim moon, they heard rustling. Their beam struck a pair of glowing red eyes, just 10 meters away. The creature stood still, small but radiating menace. Shockey raised his gun, heart racing. But as he prepared to fire, the creature let out a piercing shriek, metallic, shrill, disorienting. Both men staggered, head spinning. By the time they regained focus, it had plunged into the river gone. Matthews stared at Shockey, pale as death. My God, it's no joke. It's intelligent. After that encounter, Shockey knew they faced something beyond science. News of the Loveland Frogman spread beyond Ohio. Journalists, photographers, even paranormal hunters came to Riverside Drive, hoping to capture evidence. But none succeeded. The creature appeared only when it chose, selecting its witnesses as if issuing a warning. Calls flooded the police station. Citizens swore they heard strange cries or seen glowing eyes. But whenever officers arrived, there was nothing but fog and the quiet river. One late night, Shockey returned home. In the garage, he heard a scraping sound, like claws on metal. His heart froze. Sweeping his flashlight, he glimpsed a shadow slip past behind an old truck. He advanced, gun ready. Nothing except wet, slimy streaks smeared across the cement floor, dragging toward the back door. He stood motionless, realizing the horrifying truth. The creature was no longer confined to the river. It had come to his house. Neighbors later whispered that they had seen a small crouching figure in his yard at night, its eyes glowing in the dark. His family lived in fear. Shockey tried to calm them, but inside he knew. The creature was probing boundaries. Matthews pressed harder. We need to catch it. A body, or at least a clear photo. Otherwise, they'll always call us liars. They set traps, iron cages, baited with fish, cameras hidden. But night after night, only raccoons showed. The creature never fell for it. It was too clever, aware of their intentions. One rainy night, Shockey, patrolling alone, saw the shadow again. Slamming his brakes, he watched it standing in the headlights. This time, it didn't run. It tilted its head, eyes glowing red, staring at him. He felt hypnotized. Instead of fear, a strange pull crept into his chest, curiosity, almost a call. As though the creature was trying to communicate, to lure him to the river. Unknowingly, he loosened his grip on the gun. Rain pelted his face, but he couldn't look away. The creature turned, descended the slope into the dark water. Before vanishing, it looked back once more. Its red eyes flickered, not in threat, but like a warning. Shockey sat in his car until dawn. He understood then. Some mysteries could not be conquered, only respected. From that moment, he stopped chasing it. He urged Matthews to do the same, believing the creature meant no harm, as long as humans didn't invade its domain. Matthews resisted, but eventually gave up. The media moved on, but in Loveland, the tale lived on. The Frogman became local folklore, whispered whenever the river mist thickened. Shockey lived quietly until the end of his life, never retracting his testimony. Before he died, he told his son, "Never mock what you haven't seen. There are secrets out there, beyond our imagination, and sometimes they are watching us more than we watch them." His story became the foundation of the Loveland Frogman legend, modern folklore, chilling and haunting, a reminder that in our familiar world, unknown beings may still lurk, waiting. Shockey tightened his grip on the gun, cold sweat dripping down. He knew his colleague truly believed now, but at the same time, he also understood. They had touched upon a mystery far beyond human grasp. Part 4. The Second Officer, Mark Matthews. Just a few weeks after Ray Shockey sent Loveland into turmoil with his chilling testimony, another event occurred that spread fear wider than ever. That night, the sky was gloomy, heavy clouds pressing down as though rain was about to fall, and Riverside Drive remained quiet with the chorus of insects buzzing. Officer Mark Matthews, Shockey's colleague, was patrolling alone. He had listened to Shockey recount the strange encounter in detail, had seen the tension in his friend's eyes. But Matthews was a practical man. He believed Shockey might have imagined it, or that the dim light had made him mistake an ordinary animal for something monstrous. However, that night completely changed Matthews's beliefs. The patrol car hummed smoothly over the rain-slick road, the headlights sweeping across the damp, dark grass on either side. Suddenly, Matthews caught a shadow flicker right in front of the car. He slammed on the brakes, his heart pounding. In that chaotic instant, he saw it clearly. A bizarre creature standing in the middle of the road, legs planted firmly, its body glistening as though covered in wet slime. It stood just over a meter tall, with an abnormally swollen head and bulging eyes glowing like two red lamps in the darkness. But what made Matthew shiver the most wasn't its amphibian-like appearance, but the way it moved. It didn't crawl, didn't slither, but stood upright, walking awkwardly, just like a human. For a few fleeting seconds, their eyes locked. Matthews felt his blood freeze, his body paralyzed. The creature tilted its head, its glowing eyes flickering strangely, then suddenly leapt to the roadside and disappeared into the riverbank shadows. Matthews sucked in a deep breath, his whole body trembling. He reached for his radio, but his hand shook so badly he nearly dropped the microphone. In his mind, Shocky's voice echoed, the exact description he had given. The red eyes, the slick skin, the human-like gait. At that moment, Matthews knew Shocky had been telling the truth all along. That very night, he filed his report. When Matthews recounted what happened, the entire police station fell silent. Some exchanged worried glances, others forced uneasy laughs, but no one openly mocked him. Because now, not just one but two police officers had seen the creature, two trained men, with experience, not easily spooked by shadows or pranks. The news spread instantly. The people of Loveland buzzed in bars, supermarkets, and markets. Some said they had once glimpsed glowing red eyes near the river at night, but hadn't dared admit it. Others swore they had heard strange sounds, like frog calls, echoing beneath the bridge. The two consecutive police testimonies struck like a hammer blow to the community's mind. The Frogman was no longer just a rumor, but a terrifying presence among them. Though Matthews tried to appear composed, a lingering obsession grew inside him. The sight of the creature standing upright, with its swollen head and blazing red eyes, replayed whenever he closed his eyes. Many nights he jolted awake drenched in sweat, still hearing the faint lapping of water against the shore. One morning, while washing his patrol car, Matthews discovered a strange streak of mud on the front bumper. The mark stretched in the shape of a handprint, as if the creature had touched the car before escaping. He bent down and sniffed. It carried a pungent, fishy odor, nothing like the normal smell of river mud. A chill shot down his spine. He scrubbed it off immediately, but the image burned into his memory. In the following days, he and Shocky often spoke, piecing together the details they had each witnessed. They arrived at a disturbing theory. The creature wasn't appearing by accident, but deliberately watching humans, testing their reactions, even leaving traces behind. It seemed intelligent, aware of when to show itself and when to vanish. Though Matthews was not a superstitious man, he began to feel the line between science and legend was dangerously thin. He recalled the old folk tales locals used to tell about an amphibious people living beneath the river since ancient times, appearing whenever humans encroached on their territory. He had always dismissed them as bedtime stories meant to scare children, but after seeing it with his own eyes, he wasn't so sure anymore. The rumor spread so quickly that many residents refused to leave their homes at night. The Loveland riverbank became a cursed place. A few curious youths gathered with flashlights, knives, even guns, determined to hunt the Frogman. But strangely, every time a crowd arrived, the riverbank fell deathly silent. Nothing appeared, save for the chirp of crickets. The creature seemed to reveal itself only to loners, especially those in police uniforms. Matthews increasingly felt as though he was being watched. Many times while driving along Riverside Drive, he glimpsed a shadow running along the riverbank in his rearview mirror. Each time he turned to look, there was nothing but fog. Yet his instincts as a seasoned patrolman told him it was no illusion. One afternoon, while refueling his car, an old man who lived near the river approached Matthews, leaned close, and whispered, "You've seen it, haven't you? I saw it too, more than 20 years ago. Those red eyes, they'll haunt you for life." Matthews froze, but before he could ask anything, the old man turned away, disappearing into the crowd. Those words unsettled him even more, like a curse passed down through generations. The police department then faced two choices: launch a public investigation, or remain silent to avoid panic. In the end, they chose silence. Internal files were kept, but the media was only given vague statements. This only fueled the people's belief that a terrible secret was being covered up. One night, Matthews was again patrolling alone. The unease had grown so strong that he kept a rifle in the car beside him. Around midnight, as his headlights swept down a slope near the river, a shadow darted across. His heart leapt into his throat. He slammed the brakes, flung open the door, and raised his gun. In the dim yellow glow, the creature appeared again, closer than ever. Its swollen head, bulging red eyes, and slick, shining skin reflected the light, looking like a living nightmare. Matthews gripped the rifle tight, finger hovering on the trigger. But then he realized the creature wasn't attacking, nor fleeing. It just stood there, waiting, as if it wanted to see what he would do next. Matthews inhaled sharply, every muscle wound tight as a bowstring. For the first time in his life, he understood the feeling of standing at the fragile boundary between reality and an inexplicable mystery. That March night, the atmosphere in Loveland grew heavier than ever, as if an invisible shroud hung over the small town. The rumor sparked by Ray Shockey's testimony had not yet died down when another shock struck, plunging the community into deeper dread. Mark Matthews, a practical, no-nonsense officer who never believed in nonsense, had now become the second witness of the bizarre being the townsfolk called the Frogman. That night, Matthews drove along the empty road, headlights cutting through the pitch-black darkness like watchful eyes. He was used to nights like this, the deserted streets, the faint hum of tires, the monotony so dull that sometimes lulled one toward sleep. But around midnight, the silence shattered when the beams of his headlights struck something blocking the road. Matthews slammed the brakes, heart hammering, hands clenching the steering wheel. The creature stood upright on two legs, about 4 feet tall, its gait awkward but unmistakably not an ordinary animal. Its head was bulbous, grotesquely out of proportion, reminiscent of a frog's but twisted in uncanny ways. And then, in that instant, its eyes blazed under the car's lights, bulging and luminous, like two ghostly lanterns staring back at him. Matthews froze, realizing it was watching him, unmoving, as if studying his every breath. Later, he would describe its body as frog-like, slimy, glossy, wet, as though it had just crawled out of a swamp. But what unnerved him most wasn't the appearance, but the way it stood, not hunched like a reptile, not crawling on the ground, but upright like a person. That posture, combined with the grotesque head and glowing eyes, sent a tremor through Matthews, making him feel as though he was staring at something not of this world. For a brief moment, both stood still, locked in a silent standoff. Matthews reached for his radio to call the station, but before he could, the creature suddenly moved. It twisted its body with shocking speed, its awkward legs carrying it with startling agility. Then it bolted toward the roadside. Matthews barely recovered before he saw it dart down a slope toward the river, vanishing into the shadows as though it had never been there at all. Only the rustle of dry leaves and a strange echo rose up from the darkness below. When recounting the event to his colleagues, Matthews insisted there was no mistake. What he saw was not a dog, not a deer, not any animal known to him. He emphasized the eyes, the vivid, glowing light, alive, intelligent, as though the creature possessed awareness, not mere instinct. And above all, its human-like stance etched the encounter deep into his memory. The news that Matthews had also seen the Frogman spread like wildfire. The people of Loveland, already shaken by Shockey's story, now believed more than ever that it was real. If only one officer had claimed such a sighting, it could be dismissed as error or panic. But two witnesses, only weeks apart, both trained and credible, made denial nearly impossible. Conversations in bars, diners, and markets revolved around the Frogman. Some were terrified, some fascinated, and others spun new, terrifying tales. An old woman claimed she had heard strange cries under the riverbank at night, like a frog's croak magnified, echoing like a whisper. A man swore he had seen a strange shadow flickering near a cornfield during a rainstorm. These stories, whether true or not, spread from mouth to mouth, each time more embellished, until the Frogman became a living legend. Matthews, unlike Shockey, struggled under the pressure. He was a practical officer, always seeking clear explanations. But after that night, he began losing sleep. During late patrols, he sometimes glimpsed a shadow darting at the roadside, or glowing eyes in the underbrush. He couldn't tell if they were real or products of his haunted mind. The obsession gnawed at him, making him irritable, a change his colleagues quickly noticed. The townsfolk began acting differently, too. Young men gathered at the river at midnight with flashlights, hoping to catch the Frogman and become heroes. Children, both fearful and curious, whispered scary stories before bed, trembling at the thought of a knock on their door at midnight. Adults argued. Some believed it was proof of an undiscovered species. Others dismissed it as an exaggerated hoax. But none could deny the entire town was gripped by the legend. 2 officers, 2 testimonies. In less than a month, Loveland Frogman was no longer baseless rumor. It had become a true haunting presence, leaving everyone feeling that when they walked a dark road at night, glowing eyes might be watching from the shadows. The matter soon grew beyond Matthews's imagination. Local newspapers dispatched reporters to investigate. They interviewed him, jotting down every detail, then printed bold headlines. Frogman returns. Testimony of the second officer. The story spread quickly, and soon Loveland was the center of attention across Ohio. Other papers followed suit, and within weeks, the tale was no longer confined to a small town. Matthews found himself torn. On one hand, he wanted recognition, that he hadn't lied, that the experience was real. On the other, he was worn down by skeptic stares. Some mocked him for being overstressed on duty, hallucinating. Others whispered that he and Shockey had concocted the story for attention. The rumors infuriated him. He was a police officer, and honor was as vital as life. Being ridiculed stung bitterly. Yet at night, he still remembered those glowing eyes. No matter what anyone said, that image burned in his mind, indelible. Once, while on patrol, he heard strange noises from the river slope. A cold shiver raced down his spine, but when he turned his lights there, nothing remained but the black gleam of water. From that moment, he knew he would never truly escape the shadow called the Frogman. The townsfolk, meanwhile, grew ever more enthralled. They spread tales that the creature was a descendant of giant prehistoric amphibians, survivors hidden beneath the Ohio River. Others, more superstitious, claimed it was a cursed spirit, half man, half frog, wandering the land to spread fear. Whatever the truth, a legend had been born, and the Loveland Frogman became part of the town's collective memory. Matthews never again publicly pursued the creature. He quietly carried on his work, avoiding reporters, eventually refusing to speak further. But those who had seen his stern expression when he first recounted the tale knew, deep down, he still believed what he had seen. And that belief, combined with Shockey's, cemented the most important milestone in the history of the Loveland Frogman legend. 2 officers, men trained to confront reality, not easily deceived, had both testified to seeing a strange creature unknown to science. That alone was enough to plant fear in an entire community. From 1972 onward, the Loveland Frogman stepped out of the shadows of vague rumor, becoming an iconic urban legend, at once terrifying and fascinating.